Good morning, Kingsley Community. Pastor Colleen Weirman here, coming to you with another daily devotion for Tuesday, February 16th, Fat Tuesday. So eat up your punchkies, because tomorrow begins Lent on Ash Wednesday. And just a reminder that you can stop by the Kingsley United Methodist Church at 113 Blair Street, and you can pick up a little ash pin, little cross ash pin that I prayed over and that you can wear all day tomorrow. So those are out in a little box sitting on our white bench outside our door, and you can pick them up anytime, day or night. And then we will have an Ash Wednesday in-person service, and it will be live streamed as well at 7 p.m. tomorrow, so you can come and receive the imposition of ashes at 7 p.m. It's a short service, just reminds us that it's time to start reflecting on our relationship with God and some of the things that might be in the way of us knowing God more intimately. And so to help us do that, we're continuing our devotion through the book of The Ignatian Workout for Lent by Tim Muldoon. And today's exercise, remember it's based on the spiritual exercises written by a Spanish priest back in, 1400s, 1500s. And the three themes we have, which 10 exercises under each one, are God has created me for some good, which we're under right now. Christ calls me to service. I hurt because I love, and I will live in hope. So those are the four themes, and our theme for today is still God has created me for some good. And so spiritual exercise number 2 begins with Psalm 139, verses 1 through 6. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. So scripture reading, Psalm 139, verses 1 through 6. And by Tim Muldoon, he writes, the psalmist expresses in these words a calm yet awed trust that God knows and loves everything about him, about the psalmist. And God knows and loves everything about us. Even those parts in our dark closet that we don't want God to know, he knows those too. The psalmist gives words to the wonder, the mystery of his very self. Later in the psalm, we see a similar sentiment. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's a famous verse in Psalm 139, verse 14. I imagine this psalm emerging as the fruit of a period of quiet meditation, perhaps as the psalmist lay on the grass and gazed at the clouds on a beautiful summer day. Have you ever had a feeling of awe at the world? Do you remember feeling that way as a child, a sense that there is something overwhelming about the very existence of everything, and that your very being is part of what is so awe-inspiring? It is easy in the midst of a busy life to lose that sense of awe. The image that comes to mind is that of a mountain climber who begins the day by surveying the height of the mountain, taking in its beauty and grandeur and savoring the opportunity to climb. As she begins the climb, though the work of navigating the terrain makes her lose sight of the summit, if the climb is especially difficult, she may forget about the beauty altogether and focus only on the immediate task of staying safe. It may take a pause in a place where she can see the summit to remind her of what her journey is really all about. So today, take a pause from your climb and survey the landscape. Imagine God looking at your life the way a novelist looks at a character in his novel, seeing the whole story in his imagination, enjoying the characters he has lovingly created. What delights God when he looks at you? What does God hope for you? What work is God trying to accomplish in you? Or take another image of a sculptor lovingly chiseling away at a block of marble that is you. What beauty does God see in the unfinished block of marble? What is God chipping away with each strike of the hammer? Does it cause pain? What will the finished sculpture look like? Can you express to God your honest feelings about the process? Can you trust the sculptor to give life to the vision? So Psalm 139 is a psalm you should probably read today. So we're going to pray the words of Psalm 139, slowly speaking to God. Imagine God as a novelist, and you are a character in the novel, as God, or God is a sculptor working to create you. What feelings emerge as you imagine these things? Tell God what you hope for and what you fear as God labors to bring you to greater life. So Psalm 139 talks about God knowing us. He searches us. He hems us in, which means he's got all knowledge of us, all those parts we refuse to tell people about. It says, you hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful. So God knows all things. He knows he has plans for you, which is what we talked about, plans to do good, but he also knows all the things that keep you from being more intimate with God. And so he will prune those things away. So pruning is, like you're pruning a bush. You know how you prune it way back to the nub? And then out comes this beautiful plant. So the pruning happens. And so that's God's way of getting rid of the stuff that we refuse to get rid of. He will prune. And so if there's something that's holding you back from knowing God more intimately, or you just think, I've known God for a long time and I'm just kind of bored with it all. Well, it's time to get back into the Word of God, Psalm 139, and know that God can search you for even more deeper things than you even know is holding you back from knowing God more intimately. Remember, we're in Lent, so these devotionals are not going to be happy, fun devotionals. These are times for us to internally look inside and first understand and meditate on the fact that God knows everything about us. He knows everything. All those things that you think nobody knows, God knows. So have a conversation with him about those. And then choose something to create. A recipe, a sculpture. This is our action for the day. A model airplane. That's going to be a little difficult. A poem, a painting, a birdhouse, a film, or something else that draws on your talents. So whatever your talents are, create something. Give your creation to someone you love and tell him or her what you did. Do everything you can do to make the gift beautiful and remarkable so that the person understands that you gave your best effort on his or her behalf. So what feelings emerge as you imagine how the knowledge that God knows everything about you? So since he knows everything about you, he knows where to prune. He knows where to chisel away at those pieces that are hard in our heart that we refuse to get rid of. I'll tell you a little story about myself. I know God always works on this with me. I was the third girl out of 4 children. Of course, the parents wanted a boy. First one was a girl. Oh, sweet older sister. Then they wanted a boy. Of course. Second older sister, they were happy with 2 wonderful children, but the third one better be a boy, and that was me. So much so did they talk about wanting a boy that my sister, the second oldest, carried me up to my grandpa in her arms, and she said, "Look at Grandpa, she's the wrong kind too." And then, yes, my brother was born after me, the golden boy. They finally got the boy they wanted. But in the meantime, those things can stick with you. And back when I was growing up, girls were told, you probably are just going to go get married, so just take the general math. You don't need to take the advanced math. And I'm like, I'll do what I want. So Algebra 2 and Calculus, barely passed, but I took it. And so, sometimes I'm out to say, I can do things better than a guy. So those are some things, and like God says, it's not a competition. And I'm like, are you sure? Because it seems like it to me. So when I was in sales, it was heavily male-oriented. It was a male-dominated field at that time, so there was just 2 saleswomen, 3 out of like the 8. And so the guys thought that they could, they were good. And I'm like, I'm going to be better. So I was always trying to prove myself to be better than a guy or better than anybody, really. And that created competition. Now, competition in itself is not bad, but it's got to be in and through the way Christ would have us compete. And competing means to do the best you can with what you've been given. And so that stayed with me for a long time. And, just living in, that time where women weren't really supposed to do much besides get married and have kids. I was going to prove them wrong. And I did. But then where did it get me? So what I'm saying is that there's things that God knows about you deep inside that you might be still carrying with you from childhood, from a bad relationship that's come and gone. So you really need to get with God, and you need to have a conversation, and you need him to search you. You need to ask him to search you, as the psalmist says, search me, and you have searched me, and you known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. So even the thoughts that I don't even know are still in there, the bitterness, the unforgiveness, or whatever it is that you're dealing with. And, it still comes up, especially since I'm still in a male-dominated field. So if anybody wants to try to say something about women can't do this and women can't do that, before I'd get in an uproar and I'd do competition and I'd tell them, whatever. Now I'm just like, whatever. I'm kind of proving it wrong. So it's just that you need to really decide if you really want to know what is blocking you from a deeper relationship with God. If you don't want to know, Lent is really going to be you giving up Diet Coke, which is fine. Give up Diet Coke, give up chocolate, give up whatever you want. But Lent is more about getting in there with God and letting him see the stuff that's holding you back from knowing him and moving forward in your spiritual life. So what's more important? Is it more important for me to be competing with men, or is it more important for me to be looking at myself, doing what I can do with the gifts God's given me and doing the best I can? That gives, that is a lot less pressure, a lot less stress. So whatever it is that you're hanging on to, ask God to help you get rid of it. Ask him to search your heart, because he already knows you. He's already been there. And hopefully reading Psalm 139 will help you get through that. So this is Lent. Lent is 40 days walking to the cross with Christ, learning to put self aside, learning to get right with God, learning to find out what those things are that are holding us back from, and reflecting on what Christ has done for us. But it's easy to reflect on what Christ has done for us and make us feel good, but it's harder to take a look inside our heart at those things that we know we need to work on, that we need to give to God, and have him help work on that with us. And he will. He'll chisel away. He'll prune. He'll do whatever it is that you need. He knows exactly where to prune, and he knows exactly how to chisel. So create something for someone today. And that might be just taking a look at Psalm 139 and creating it in your own words. So put your name where it says I, because then you will be the psalmist. Anyway, it's Fat Tuesday. Have a donut. For tomorrow we feast and fast. Or today we fast. Today we feast. Tomorrow we fast. So have a good day. I will see you back here tomorrow.